The food is poisoned with carcinogen. Using your laptop and phone is permanently disfiguring your posture. There are endocrine disruptors in your spandex, polyester, and nylon clothes. There's PFAS, that Teflon forever chemicals in your cookware. Your meat is deadly. Your highly processed vegan food is killing you. The pesticides on your fruit and vegetables is killing you. Your 9-to-5 job is killing you. You can't even celebrate holidays anymore. I guarantee you that knowing about all this stuff is not making you a better person. It's making you worse. Your feed has been brainwashing you since 2020. Possibly sooner than that. There are so many Gen Zs who live in this fantasy world. They don't do anything in real life because it's just too hard to decide. They don't want to work a job. They don't vote. They don't believe in anything. Nothing has any meaning. They don't get involved with anything. They're paralyzed by anxiety, and people wonder why are Gen Z and Millennials some of the most mentally ill. You're basically sitting in the corner rocking, like your entire life is happening in your head. Your obsession with knowledge is making you dumb, and your inability to let stuff go and actually live your life IRL is keeping you stuck. It's keeping you sick. Newsflash, you're not actually supposed to know everything. You're not supposed to feel confident about everything you do. You're supposed to just know just enough about your little issues and your little goals to live your little life. You're not supposed to have your nose in everybody's business. This constant obsession with optimization, with knowing everything, being super woke, this is destroying the human experience. I've noticed a serious change in my brain since I started using TikTok and Instagram daily during the pandemic. My brain wasn't like this before. This feeling, it's hard to describe, but the best definition that I've come across is from Anna Lemke's book, Dopamine Nation. She calls it compulsive overconsumption. Her claim in the whole book is basically that these days it's way easier to become an addict. The worst part is a lot of us fall victim to this addictive behavior under the guise of education or micro-learning or even worse, internet activism. Let's be honest, it feels good to know things, to feel like you're on the right side of history, to be ahead of the curve, to have talking points, to sound smart. But I would honestly say that this type of consumption destroyed my brain. I don't even think I showed signs of ADHD until after the pandemic, when I was just scrolling through short form video for 8 or more hours a day on info talk is what they call it. I got so deep into this person's reality, learning the laws of their universe, hearing all this stuff about what they're experiencing and the research to back it up, getting all emotionally connected or just getting triggered and typing out a long dissertation to try to make myself feel smart. And then immediately the connection is severed. With one scroll, you're getting involved in a new person's reality. It's just so much for your brain to go through with really no processing time at all. You can literally program your neural pathways into this pattern and think that that's normal. And I feel like that's why a lot of people are getting diagnosed or finding out they have ADHD who never had ADHD before. That's another topic, I guess. Is social media giving us mental illness? Yes. I just think it's weird that we do this for the sake of stimulation, like because we're bored or we need like a distraction. TikTok, Instagram, info talk people, conspiracy talk people who are raising awareness, and sparking social change, which is not inherently bad. But some of this content, it's really for naive, impressionable, left-leaning people like me to feel guilty for certain behaviors that I currently do not have the means to change. For example, there's this guy called Cancel This Clothing Company. He goes into stores and he will take a picture of the shelves and investigate which brands are really linked back to big corporations so that people are more informed about the businesses they're supporting and can choose to support more small businesses. It's complicated because I don't think what he's doing is wrong, but I definitely think consuming too much content like this can be a double-edged sword. Obviously, you don't want to be complicit in social injustice or abuse. Nobody wants that. But this content and other content like it, I do believe there is a very fine line between helping and hurting. It's getting to the point where nothing is good, nothing is clean, nothing is safe. What are you really supposed to do with your life after you've learned all this information? How are you going to come back from these worlds that you're traveling to mentally? How are you supposed to come back to your own life and your own physical body and integrate all of this information into your reality? And should you be integrating all of this into your daily life? Should you buy into everything you see online? Because regardless of how much we talk about how it's not good to do that, we do it. The two biggest ways to impress the subconscious mind is through emotion and repetition. I say this all the time in all my videos, but the content on your feed involves those things. It's catered and curated for your unique consumption patterns, which means that you're likely being fed a narrative, an idea, a theme over and over and over and over every time you scroll. It's just mirroring what's already going on in your life, in your head. So it's not necessarily helping you to expand your viewpoint. point, it's kind of just keeping you stuck where you are. And so this brings me to the cross between analysis paralysis and information overload. This info paralysis, I like to call it, is a really big problem among Gen Z. We just know way too fucking much. Life is not supposed to be this hard. I don't see how it's really possible for any of us to go in a meaningful direction in our lives when we are constantly trying to weigh all of these different perspectives and realities that we're not even supposed to know about. We're being pulled into every possible direction. And I got to thinking about this a lot leading up to the US presidential election, because it got to a point where I was genuinely trying to educate myself on the candidates, and I was like, I don't know what's real. I genuinely don't know if this is education or propaganda, and what is the difference in a capitalistic society where manipulative marketing is allowed. As a communication specialist, as someone with a bachelor's in communications, as a digital marketer, a social media content creator, I understand persuasive psychology and the inner workings of driving people to act. Whether it's signing up for an email list or voting for a particular candidate, do I choose to buy into a lot of the fear-based narratives that are circling? Absolutely not, because I understand that it's all manipulation. If you have a soul and you're empathetic, this wokeism shit is just extremely harmful, because it can become this roller coaster that you can't get off. You can't support this stuff because then you're complicit in all these other things that you don't want to be part of, and then this slippery slope. How did we get to that point where everything leads to everything else? It's fucking marketing, bro. The food is poisoned with carcinogens. Using your laptop and phone is permanently disfiguring your posture. There are endocrine disruptors in your spandex, polyester, and nylon clothes. You can't even celebrate holidays anymore. I guarantee you that knowing about all this stuff is not making you a better person. It's making you worse. It's making you more dumb. The more you know, the less productive you are, because the more you're in your head thinking and trying to make decisions, and you literally can't. It's literally impossible to optimize every single aspect of your life. Should we be trying to be the ultra perfect human? Have we just fallen into this marketing ploy? Have we fallen into the interests of capitalism that say we need to solve every problem we have? That we need to level up every aspect of our lives and ourselves? You should be doing this, or you should be doing that. It's endless noise. I've personally been really struggling with this because I've tried to do the right thing, but it just backfires, because the more right you try to be, the more there's other stuff that you're not paying attention to that's creating a problem. Optimization is just self-destruction disguised as self-improvement. Honestly, if you're in that problem-solving mindset, there's always going to be some problem to solve. And it's so hard, especially if you're young, to try to find your destiny or what you should be doing with your life when you're constantly being pulled by so many different directions, so many things you could do, so many things other people are doing. What are other people doing? What should I be thinking? What should I be feeling? You end up paralyzed by the weight of every possibility, trying to validate every POV, every perspective at once. And if you commit to one path, it's gonna clash with others. And you have a finite amount of time and mental space and energy in a day. We can't do it all. A lot of people think our generation has a crisis of meaning, but I think the problem is actually too much meaning. There's this massive web, and everything is interconnected, and everything connects to something else, and before long you're entangled and you're unable to move at all. And it just feels like at some point we have to ask ourselves, does knowing this stuff really help? Is it helping our goals? You don't have to care about things just because people are making you feel like you should care about it. If your goal is peace, if you want like peace for yourself, peace for your family, peace for your friends, peace for the world, are you really in alignment with that goal by putting yourself in so much emotional turbulence and stress on a daily by consuming more information to the point where you can't even close your eyes and fall asleep at night? Is that really peace? Some of us are trying to self-harm ourselves out of having privilege and moral immunity here in the United States. Like, if I watch this gruesome, horrible content about what's going on in Gaza, it's like a weird act of solidarity with the victims. Like, no, that's not helping anyone. Actually, that's just you mental masturbating. By the time you see it, it's just news that's either for entertainment or propaganda persuasion. So the first step to actually being a force of good in the world is acknowledging that a lot of these things are not really helping. Ask yourself, does consuming this help me become a better person? Does this help me to be this informed? Is it actually going to help in the ways that are relevant to the individuals affected? Am I actually in a position emotionally, mentally, financially, or otherwise to provide support with this issue? Could the emotional reaction stirred up within me right now actually be a means of manipulating me and others into a greater mission or agenda that I may not necessarily agree with? Can I control or really do anything about the stuff that I'm seeing online? Or is it inciting an emotional reaction that within me that I can't de-escalate, which then makes me more susceptible to marketing manipulations? What are some ways that I can actually channel this feeling I have into positive change in my local community? So in conclusion, number one, some of us are addicted to righteousness and the idea of being ultra woke. Number two, stress is a significant factor of disease which impacts your longevity and your overall quality of life. Compulsive overconsumption of online content overstimulates you, burns out your dopamine receptors, and can just increase your stress no matter what kind of content you're consuming, whether it's good, whether it's helpful, whether it's learning or not. 3, it's futile to try to optimize your entire existence because you're not a machine. You are a human being, and you can't optimize your entire life from the food you eat to the ideologies you hold. Perfection is a myth because the point of the human existence is to struggle and improve and evolve over time. So number 4, letting go of what you cannot control and getting involved in your local community is actually a much better way to channel your rage and grief about social injustice, war, and horrific abuse. Moral immunity is a thing, and I really don't think it helps anyone to keep reposting the pain that we might be complicit in some way or another in, because it really isn't helping to solve the problems we can actually solve. It's just further alienating you from actually taking accountability, because it's so much easier to put a little flag in your bio and say you show solidarity with whoever, but it's much harder to actually make time in your schedule to go fucking volunteer, to go help some people that are actually in need. This is an intellectual exercise, but you're not actually doing what you think you're doing. This social media stuff is about you being manipulated into taking an action. At some point, you got to ask yourself, what is the point of the awareness itself? Because it can very easily destroy your quality of life, and then you can't help anyone because you're mentally ill and you're not doing anything with your life. And you just have to get to that point of self-awareness where you're like, you know what, I actually don't want this. I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna take a step back and realize that I'm spending way too much time on this, and it's not making me a better person. It's just making me more stuck and more confused and stressed. When you're obsessed with not making any errors at all, it really stems from your need to be accepted by people. It stems from your need to be accepted by your community to earn people's approval. And trying to be ultra right and please everybody, you end up losing yourself. The answers are not outside of you. The answers are within you. And if you aren't careful, you're just going to become a pawn in somebody else's game.